full implementation phase because we divide our operations in 3 phases: the pre, the during, and the post operational implementation plan. For this moment, our national operational plan is fully activated. The country is now under maximum operational readiness. Our national joint operational and intelligence structures, the provincial joint operational and intelligence structures, and all operational command center are functioning on a 24-hour basis. Our operators are on the ground across all 9 provinces. The first responder task with responding to public gatherings and any emerging incidents are fully deployed on a high alert. Specialized operational units are ready to respond at any moment. Public order policing units are in position. The Air Wing will provide aerial surveillance and operational support wherever it's required in a multidisciplinary format. Our intelligence structures continue to monitor developments in real time, and operational commanders are receiving continuous updates to ensure swift and a decision-making process, which is expected to be decisive. We have entered the first critical hour of our national operation. Every law enforcement officer understands the mandate. Every commander understands the responsibility. Every operational plan is in motion. Let there be no doubt. Government is ready. JCPS cluster is ready. NATJOINTS is ready. Prof joints and district joints are ready. We will secure every lawful and peaceful demonstration. We will protect every community. We will safeguard critical infrastructure and any building. We will maintain public order. And we believe that with all the communication and engagements that we have been having prior to this date have reached the swift and understanding ear of our communities in terms of the do's and the don'ts, in terms of them displaying and discharging their constitutional mandate of the freedom of expression. And where criminality presents itself, we will respond swiftly, proportionally, and decisively within the confines and the framework of the law. To those who intend to break the law tomorrow, our message is simple: do not test the resolve of state. To those who intend to demonstrate peacefully, we assure you that your constitutional right will be protected. To every South African, be confident that your safety remains on our highest order and highest priority. The security cluster is united. Our members are deployed. Our operations are fully underway. We are ready in terms of safety and security. I can indicate that when these weeks and months of planning happened, we recognize that we require to identify at least 8 work streams that will work across all other government departments. So what we are displaying and discharging at this point is the whole of government and the whole of society approach. This briefing marks the conclusion of weeks of meticulous planning, intelligence gathering, operational coordination, deployment, operations undertaken by the Justice and Crime Prevention and Security Cluster. The message from the security cluster and supporting clusters such as your economic cluster, social development cluster are clear and non-negotiable. The state is ready, law enforcement is ready, South Africa is ready. Contingency plans have been tested and simulated throughout the months of planning. There will be no security vacuum. There is a clear distinction between exercising democratic right and committing a criminal offense. Coordinators of the marchers and demonstrators have assured South Africans that their plan is for a peaceful demonstrations. Anyone who crosses that line must expect a full and immediate consequence of law. No individual or group will be allowed to undermine the authority of the state. No one will be allowed to intimidate communities. No one will be allowed to shut down the economy. No one will be allowed to prevent law-abiding citizens from going to work, attending school, accessing healthcare facility, or conducting daily business. No one will be permitted to damage infrastructure, loot business, attack law enforcement officers, or incite violence. No dangerous weapon, such as firearm, knives, and traditional weapons will be allowed in terms of what is contained in Section 17 of the Constitution is that when we demonstrate, when we assemble, when we petition, when we express our freedom of expression, we do so peacefully and unarmed. Dangerous Weapons Act defines what are the objects that may inflict bodily harm. Therefore, it is a no-go zone or no-go area in terms of carrying of dangerous weapons. The state will act decisively against any person who seeks to exploit tomorrow's demonstration to commit acts of lawlessness. This is a non-negotiable terrain. This is the enforcement of the law and protection of both demonstrators as well as people who want to continue with their business. The business sector, economic sector should continue to thrive. In terms of the arrests, over the weekend, a group of March and March protesters entered, or so-called March and March protesters entered a home in Rosettenville, Johannesburg, where a Congolese family and resident harassed. We can confirm that 4 people have been arrested and they are in custody on charges of public violence and house robbery. On anti-foreigner sentiment cases, we have from the 1st of March to date registered at least 103 cases with 195 persons arrested. Breakdown of this in terms of provinces includes 39 cases that were reported in KZN and 11 persons have been arrested. In Eastern Cape, 12 cases have been reported and 9 persons have been arrested. In Free State, 29 cases were reported and 153 persons arrested. Western Cape, 15 cases reported and 14 persons were arrested. In Gauteng, 4 cases were registered with 5 suspects arrested. In Mpumalanga, 3 cases were registered and 3 persons arrested. The leader of the march linked to Abahambe protest, Simpiwe James Bonile, remains in custody following his arrest in May in the Western Cape province. His case, it's since been remanded to the 2nd of July 2026. This is just an illustration that we are dealing decisively with those who step out of line. Equally, those who are in the country illegally are being arrested. Just in the past 7 days, more than 2,800 have been arrested, and since January 2026 to date, more than 50,000 have been arrested. The total fatalities on anti-foreigner sentiments to date are standing at 4, 2 in KZN and 2 in the Western Cape. And in the case of KZN, 1 person has been arrested. In the 2 cases of 2 persons have been arrested in 1 case, and in the Western Cape, 2 persons have been arrested in the Mossel Bay matter. With regard to the repatriation process, we wish to assure the public that comprehensive security measures are in place. To date, more than 25,000 foreign nationals have been repatriated. This is an ongoing process. All buses transporting repatriated foreign nationals are traveling under a strict law enforcement escort from departure to a designated port of entry. Along the routes, a number of verification checkpoints have been established where law enforcement officials confirm and ensures that all processes comply with the law. To ensure the safety, orderly, and efficient movement of those convoys, and to prevent unnecessary congestion at our ports of entry, the escorted buses will not make unscheduled stops. They will proceed directly to the designated border posts under continuous security escort. These measures are intended to safeguard the integrity of the process and maintain public order and ensure that all repatriations are conducted in a secure, lawful, and dignified manner. The security cluster has adopted an intelligence-driven, risk-based, and highly coordinated operational approach. Thousands of law enforcement officers from South African Police Service, the Metro Police Departments, provincial and national traffic services, cross-border traffic enforcement, and law enforcement agencies have been deployed across the length and breadth of our country. Specialized operational capabilities, including public order policing, tactical response team, national intervention units, special task force, air wing, K9s of different formations, mounted units, detectives, and intelligence personnel are strategically positioned and remain on standby. Critical infrastructure, national key points, transport routes, ports of entries, healthcare facilities, shopping centers, and other strategic installations are receiving enhanced protection. Visible policing have been significantly intensified. Operational commanders have been empowered to respond immediately to any developing threat. The security cluster and supporting clusters have also strengthened cooperation with municipalities, disaster management centers, emergency medical services, the private security industry, and other stakeholders to ensure a coordinated response should circumstances so require. We are aware of various narratives circulating on digital platforms. The criminal conduct is identified, investigations are already underway. Incitement to commit violence is a criminal offense, and this is expressly outlined on the Constitution. Tomorrow's operation will be intelligence-led, they will be measured, they will be professional, but they will also be firm and decisive. Law enforcement officers have both the legal authority and operational capability to restore order whenever it is threatened. Our members have the responsibility to uphold the law without fear, favor, or prejudice. We therefore call upon every organizer and every participant to honor their commitment under the law. Exercise your constitutional right respectfully and peacefully. Cooperate with marshals and law enforcement officials. Respect agreed routes and conditions. Those that intend to hand over the memorandum, they must be handed over to the relevant state authority. Disperse peacefully once your activities are concluded. Those who do not have nothing to fear from the police, those who choose violence, intimidation, destruction of property, looting, road blockades, attacks on public officials, or any other criminal conduct should expect immediate law enforcement intervention. Arrest will immediately be effected, cases will be investigated, prosecution will follow, there will be accountability. To every South African, we say, remain calm, go about your lawful daily activities, continue to report crime and suspicious activities Do not be intimidated by threats circulating on social media. Law enforcement is taking care of that space. Do not spread misinformation. Trust that law enforcement agencies are fully prepared to protect and safeguard your well-being. The Republic of South Africa is governed by the law, not by threats, fear, or intimidation. Tomorrow, the Constitution will be protected. Public safety will be protected. Lives will be protected. Authority of the state will be upheld. Security cluster and other supporting clusters are united, as I've alluded earlier. Our plans are complete. Our members are deployed. Our command structures are fully operational, and our resolve is unwavering. We are ready. No more than ever is the time for South Africans to stand together. We have one country. We have one constitution. We have one people whose safety and security we are duty-bound to protect. Let us reject division, South Africans. Let us reject violence over expression. Let us reject the labeling of xenophobia and lawlessness. We are better communities to date. Let us embrace the values that defines us as a nation: Ubuntu, mutual respect, and the rule of law. Tomorrow, let us demonstrate to the world that South Africa's democracy is strong enough to accommodate peaceful protest while firmly rejecting criminality. We stand ready. The law will be upheld. South Africa will remain safe. I salute.
Thank you, colleagues. That was Lieutenant General Tebelo Masikidi, as well as Major General Chalisi from the SANDF. I'll now open the floor for questions. I think we can take the first 3 questions from the floor. Can you proceed?
You
can speak up.
For SABC News, the majority of the protests that we've seen from March and March have been fairly peaceful, despite the fact that they have been carrying traditional weapons. Why is it that the NATJOINTS has taken, the police have taken the decision not to allow those who are going to be participating in the march tomorrow not to carry their traditional armor? Secondly, how many people have been arrested from March and March? And please correct me if I heard wrong. Have there been, I think I might have heard 103 cases of anti-foreigner sentiments. Please just clarify as to how many cases and what charges those individuals, 103 individuals, have been are facing, and do we have a law against anti-foreigner sentiments in South Africa?
I missed the last one, Balenda.
Are there laws against anti-foreigner sentiments in South Africa? But more than anything, why add so many resources when they've also demonstrated that these demonstrations can be led in a peaceful manner?
I think let's proceed to answer those because it was quite a mouthful of questions. I think we'll answer those and then proceed with the rest. Thank you.
Okay. I think on the first question of why NATJOINTS have not responded on the carrying of the weapons, the reason why we continuously in our briefing reiterate and stress on the constitution and the laws of the country and why they must be preserved and respected is precisely to remind South Africans on what is expected of them in terms of Dangerous Weapons Act, in terms of Section 17, that I will reiterate, Section 17 of the same constitution that all of us as South Africans subscribe to, and because we are a sovereign state, that is expected for those that visit our country, who reside in our country, to respect those laws. So in terms of the constitution, Section 17, it expressly indicates that when you demonstrate, it should be distinct from any other event that is intended for expressing our cultural rights and so on and so forth. Hence, we want to reiterate and continue to educate our country that that is a constitutional expectation and mandate, that when you so express, where you so demonstrate, make sure that it is done correctly in terms of a date. Dangerous Weapons Act defines what are these acts. I think we had the same briefing and engagement with the media where we did alluded on the fact. Why are they not arrested? We do arrest where it's necessary. We use the laws that are applicable in terms of Public Violence Act, where we have those that continue to brandish and carry violently the weapons. They are being addressed in terms of the numbers that I have been providing earlier. Some of those, if one can look at some of the cases that persons have been charged with, includes public violence, it includes damage to property, includes assault, it includes murder, as I have indicated on the 4 cases that some of these cases do have persons that have been arrested. We also have arrested an individual that was impersonating. We have been reiterating and taking from the strategic objectives that the President has outlined on the 7th of June that we are not going to allow an ordinary South African to be approaching any person and asking for that is within the law enforcement. Only the Defence Force, only the South African Police Service and the Home Affairs officials can are mandated to ask for documents. How many people have been arrested from March and March? The intention of this briefing is not to label individuals, because we will have to go deeper in looking at the affiliation of an individual. The indication of the cases at Rosettenville, it's because of how the individuals presented themselves, how were they wearing during their exercise, and taking from the leaders of March and March that they were pleading for their followers not to be out of line. Hence, we have responded, and we have responded swiftly, and I believe that the organizers and the leadership of March and March will be proud of law enforcement that we will root out the elements that are not representing them. On the 103 cases, I think I've already alluded on the offenses that these people are facing. Are there laws against anti-foreigner sentiments in RSA? There are no laws specifically to say if you do this to the foreigner, it is an offense. Our laws are a blanket laws that look at the rights of every person. You will recall that we observe the right of every person within the borders of our country. Any offense that is committed to any person is illegal. But in terms of the people that are illegal in the country, we also discharge what is contained in the laws including the immigration laws. Hence, from time to time, there are persons that will be arrested. On the 50,000 numbers that I have alluded to earlier is those that have been charged precisely on immigration laws. Why so much preparation for the march that is coming tomorrow? It is our responsibility and a constitutional mandate and obligation where we know that there will be marches, and perhaps we are now talking about the march that is coming tomorrow. But from time to time, throughout the year, there are sporadic marches and protests that we do police, and we do have such statistics. We even have the breakdown of those that were peaceful and those that required us to exercise and implement some of the rights that are contained in terms of making sure that those that are on the wrong side of the law are facing the full might of the law. However, we also look at the post and previous experiences when a march of this magnitude is planned. Hence, you have heard the appeal to South Africans that let us exercise our rights as contained in Section 16 of the Constitution. However, let us do so responsibly, let us do so observing other people who do not want to participate, that they should be left with peace. We cannot be forcing people. We can encourage, but you can't force anyone to participate in a march if he or she does not want to do so. So it is from that premise that we will put all measures in place to make sure that we save our country. Said earlier, this is the only country that we have as South Africans, and we have duty, we have the obligation as law enforcement, where we know to protect both marchers and to protect the property, to protect individuals who do not want to partake in the march, to protect those that want to be the observers. It is our duty and our responsibility to do so. Hence, we have put measures in place to make sure that, because we know, we were told that there will be this much, history tells if these things happen, they cannot go unobserved, they cannot go without a law enforcement, they cannot go without the support. Where we get to be notified, we sit around the table, we work out the plan, we guide, we give limitations where we require, limitations in terms of guiding the marchers of the dangers of certain areas or why certain areas cannot be used, and if used, whether we have enough resources. And I must reiterate, Regulations of Gatherings Act, it's very clear on the expectation of those that plan the marches, those that become the organizers, what is expected of them and what is expected of law enforcement.
All right, colleagues, in the interest of time, we're going to take the last round of questions because we do have an early morning tomorrow. We need to rest. Okay, last round.
Veronica Makwadi here from Newsroom Africa. I think I just want to start with that massive amount of money that has been allocated as part of the security budget. Of course, that's 600 million rand for this particular protest. I think the question is just, where's the money coming from? From what I understand, is that there hasn't been a legislative mandate or emergency or disaster legislation. So just the question is, where has that money been redirected from? Perhaps maybe other departments, but where is it coming from? Another question I think is, as we speak about, General, you've mentioned that these past 24 hours have been absolutely crucial and it's shown some stability across the country. Overnight, though, what are we expecting? We're really starting to see some demonstrations flaring up in areas like Kakamas in the Northern Cape, Germiston, community alerts coming out from those particular areas. Another issue is regarding the demonstrations. Have we made any preparations in regards to counter demonstrations, some of the groups that will then be protesting against the likes of March and March. Yeah.
Thank you. I think there's one question online from Lisa Lee, News 24. Can you please advise whether the SANDF has been requested or authorized to assist law enforcement in any province? If so, in which provinces will SANDF members be deployed, and what role would they be expected to perform? I think that's the last question, and then we close it there.
With the last question.
General Jalisi, Major General Joseph Jalisi is from the SANDF. He is a co-chair of the NATJOINTS. Over to you, General.
Yeah, good evening to your viewers. SANDF, as the chair indicated, is in support of the police in enforcing law and order in the country. And we are already in 9 provinces for any eventuality. As she has indicated, there's no form or shape of anarchy that seeks to challenge the authority of the state that will be allowed from any individual. It doesn't matter whether it's a South African or a non-South African, as long as you seem to break the law and challenge the authority of the state. So the SANDF is deployed and ready to ensure that the integrity of the state remains intact beyond what we are talking about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, General. I'll now hand over to General Musikini.
Thank you very much. On the question of the massive amount and where the money is coming from, the Acting National Commissioner on Friday, when we were launching the ground forces, did elaborate it on the planning and the requirement of the police, because the amount that was communicated is the ground forces or the frontline deployment of the police, that is estimated at 600 million in terms of the plans that were put in place, what will be expected. And it is not an amount, and I want to reiterate, not an amount of money that is planned for one day. You'll recall that when we are to move operatives from one area to the other, you need to work out what will be the spending in terms of fuel and others. So this amount is inclusive of any operational budget that will be required at this time for the deployment of members, for the equipment that will be used, for the overtime that will be required for those that will be expected to work overtime. There are individuals that will work 24 hours or those that will work 12 hours, which is the operational expected monies that must be paid. So this amount is inclusive of any other cost that will be required for SAPS to discharge its constitutional mandate. The expectation of any other year is to put aside a certain amount of money for an unforeseen. So part of this will come from the unforeseen, and the Acting National Commissioner indicated that where there are shortages, there are those that will be knocked at to ensure that when the dust settles and we have claims that are submitted, individuals and members will be paid what is due to them in terms of the work that it will be expected for whatever period that this operation will be undertaken. Yes, I have indicated that it has been relatively quiet, and to say relatively quiet doesn't mean there are no marches. Even today there were demonstrations. We do monitor them. They were policed. The past month, since we have started to monitor the marches, we have been monitoring and managing the marches. So they are quiet because they were manageable, and we have seen a lot of them. I think earlier on there was a question that there have been peaceful marches. And we want to thank South Africans who have done those peaceful marches. We have responded on the numbers that I have read out of those that went out of what was expected of them when they were doing marches. That is why we are able to come here today and give you figures of those that are coming from the marches. The total number of arrests that were, it's been extrapolated from the total number of arrests that has been effected through various operations, but we have singled out those that were coming from the marches to say, out of the demonstration and marches, those that were not peaceful, those that required the police to respond and other law enforcement agencies, we have responded, hence those particular individuals were arrested. Every person in this country is expected, or is expecting, in terms of Section 12 of the Constitution, to receive a fairly free and non-violent country with no threats on their personal security. That is the implementation of that right that we want to reiterate to everyone, that you are guaranteed by the Constitution in terms of Section 12 of the right to be free from violence and the threat. I am reiterating this because there is no need for a pushback. There is no need for a counter demonstration, because you are covered by law that your right to be free of violence and threats of your personal safety, it is a guaranteed right in terms of the Constitution. The reason why law enforcement is on the ground is to ensure that nobody is encountering any other person. We cannot be in the country where the other one is fighting and the other one is retaliating. But the state has the duty and obligation to ensure that those that are demonstrating do so peacefully. Those who do not want to demonstrate also live their life free of violence or any threat to their personal being.
Thank you, General. Colleagues, we've reached the end of our media briefing. See you tomorrow morning as early as, I know, 5 o'clock for most of us. Thank you so much for coming through to our media briefing. Thank you to the generals. As you've heard it, it's a normal working day tomorrow. There's nothing to fear. The state is in control. Law enforcement is ready. Thank you so much. Thank you, General.